Now, Abs was on the board of Deutsche Bank when the Nazis rose to prominence in the 1930s, and he also held no less than 40 directorships in Nazi companies during that same period. He was also on the board of IG Farben, who, of course, made the Zyklon B gas, held the patent to it, which was used to kill the concentration camp victims. He was also put in charge of allocating Marshall Aid reconstruction funds, so he basically managed Germany's economic recovery after the war. Now, where it gets even more interesting is the fact that Abs was a founding member of the European League for Economic Cooperation, which was set up in 1946. Now, just by coincidence, the other people who helped him set this up, and this European League for Economic Cooperation still exists today. It was one of the primary drivers behind the eventual creation of the European Economic Market in 1957. It still exists today, and it has the advisory status at the Council of Europe and on the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. So this was a key organization in setting the foundation for the creation of the European Union. It was set up by Abs, a top Nazi, Hitler's top banker, and, I might add, a Bilderberg member when the Bilderberg organization came into existence in just before 1954. Also, people who helped Abs set up this European League for Economic Cooperation were among others, Edmund Giscard d'Estaing, top Bilderberg member, Paul van Zeeland, top Bilderberg member, and Joseph Rettinger, also top Bilderberg member. So you've got, obviously Bilderberg came into existence in the early 50s. So you've got people, industrialists, including top Nazis, forming this European League for Economic Cooperation in 1946.
And then you have Bilderberg bragging in public documents, the BBC and others, to the EU Observer a few weeks ago, Viscount Etienne d'Avignon, who we personally videotaped last year in D.C., and then again before that in Canada, in Ottawa at the Brook Street. They brag that they covertly set this up, and they're proud of themselves. And you've got Prince Bernhard, the SS member, who is the founder with the others you just mentioned, setting all of this up. I mean, it's totally there, and then all they push is eugenics and bankrupting the middle class. And then people say, well, they're Nazis and they want whites to breed. No, then they fund these programs to have the West not have children as the West dies, and they have all these Bilderberg Group members and Club of Rome people come out and say that they want to cut the population of Australia, England in half, Canada in half, U.S. in half. And then when you read their eugenicist documents for all the white supremacists out there, thinking, ooh, we like the New World Order then. No, you don't. Because what you have to understand is they say that they tell the public about positive and negative eugenicists, who they see as the master race needs to interbreed and make smarter, faster, better, longer-lived, more stable people, and then negative eugenics sterilize or kill or get rid of or starve the the subhumans in their twisted view. But they say that's for the public. What we want is to actually get rid of our competition. That are the whites and Jews and a few other groups, including, quote, some of the higher Orientals, as they call them, that they want world government to knock out their competition. Now, again, I'm not even saying I believe in all this. I'm stating what they believe. How evil is that to want to kill their own race because they believe it's a master race that threatens them? I mean, these are some sick puppies, man. These are some sick people, Paul.
Right, and knowing the origins of their ideology, it's no surprise, because as you mentioned, okay, we've got top Nazis and future Bilderbergers creating this European Economic Group in 1946. By the early 50s, when they start to meet and plan all this through the Bilderberg Group, they start talking about, quote, pressing need to bring the German people together with the other peoples of Europe into a common market. And these documents came out of the 1955 Bilderberg meeting, documents which have now been released by the WikiLeaks website, which we reported on last week. So in 55, they're talking about creating a European common market, but not by the creation of a new authority. They said it's got to be done via a treaty, otherwise we're not going to get it done. So lo and behold, 2 years later, 1957, the first incarnation of the European Union, the European Economic Community, is passed via the Rome Treaty. Also, in the 55 Bilderberg documents, it talks about, quote, it might be better to proceed through the development of common market by treaty. I've talked about that. It also talks about the need to create a single European currency. And this is in 1955. The single European currency was only proposed in 1992. That's when it was first proposed.
And by the way, I'll make this point I make routinely, Paul. This is so important. We'll go back to what you were just saying. Remember in 2007, in all the capital cities of Europe, they had giant parades for 50 years of the euro, and people, nobody showed up, and it was empty streets, and they said, for all the fireworks displays and parades, they said, but we thought this thing just started in 2000. How is it 50 years of the euro? And that's because of the Treaty of Rome in 1957, you had the European Union, just like with the treaty they had in Waco in 2005 in March, and they said the treaty was secret, but people sued and got it. We are now in the North American Union, and down the road they'll announce, 20 years of the North American Union. People go, but I thought this started last year, and they'll be, it didn't, slave. So please continue, Paul.
Yeah, they actually had another EU ceremony in Paris last year when I was in Paris, and they had EU flags on top of the Eiffel Tower and the Arc de Triomphe. Nobody seemed very interested in it, but it was just a statement, we own this is ours, and that's what they do with the EU flags everywhere now. But going back to what I was talking about, yeah, they proposed the euro in 1955, and that's 42, sorry, it's around about 40 years before it was actually first proposed and introduced. And so you've got a straight line between the Nazis, the creation of these groups which laid the foundations for the EU, then the Bilderberg group, which is when they formalized the policies to create the EU and the euro, and then the creation of the EEC in 1957, and then obviously in the decade since, the EEC got bigger and bigger and eventually became the European Union in 1993. And in the 21st century, now we have the European Union basically laying everything out on the table and not even hiding behind this rationalization that it's just a trading partnership. And they've proposed now with the Lisbon Treaty basically to take away any remaining sovereignty whatsoever held by nation states and create a truly federal European superstate. And the origins of it, as have now been proven vehemently, can be found with Nazis and Nazi ideology.
And other Bilderberg Group documents have leaked, and we can publicly see the policies of the European Union. They claim if you're not for open borders, you're a racist. So they always use the attack of what they themselves really are. And so that's what's so cold-blooded about this. Take the Royal Commission on Population, 1949. It states if we industrialize the third world, they'll stop having as many children, but that won't give us as much power. So we'll keep policies in the third world through the IMF and World Bank to bankrupt them. They'll have more children. It'll actually chew up the rainforest and the indigenous animals. But that's okay, because later we'll come in with other sterilization programs and just cull off the mass. So we'll use a population bomb as a weapon, and then we'll come in and use a eugenics operation against those people. I mean, this is a scorched earth policy of we'll screw everything up, we'll destroy half the planet if we need to get this system in control. We'll GMO all the crops if that's what it takes to take over the third world populations and destroy their crops. I mean, again, it's just such a diabolical design that they run, and then we see the Club of Rome and the CFR and these European Union groups. Openly, it's always about eugenics and getting rid of the middle class and bankrupting the population and doing all these horrible things. It is just so cold-blooded, Paul Watson, to then understand that this isn't even Nazi. To say Nazi, makes a nice headline in the British newspapers. But exactly. But more than that, it's a scientific dictatorship of eugenics